So welcome back to another video. This is going to be a real quick project. As you can see, this garage is actually very small. It's just a single car garage, but we're going to turn this into a beautiful full broadcast flake floor system. Now for some of you, this might be the first time you're seeing this type of a system being installed, and for others this will be a little bit of a refresher as you get ready to do your own project. Now this floor here has a lot of issues, and as you can see, there's a lot of pits, a lot of holes that are in this concrete. So we're going to do an extra step on this particular floor after we do all of our grinding. We're actually going to do a flood coat of epoxy to fill in a lot of these areas, which will give us a much better surface when we're finished with this project. So as you can see, we've got our equipment set up. We're going to diamond grind the surface. We've got our vacuum hooked up to it. We'll do that real quick. It won't take very long on this such a small space, and then we'll go ahead to mixing up the flood coat that we're going to put down today. We'll let that dry overnight. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll do our body coat with a dark gray epoxy. We'll broadcast our flake into that, and then we'll put our polyaspartic top coat on. Alright, so we're back here at our small garage project, and we did all of our grinding. Now you remember on this project we're going to do a little extra step that you probably wouldn't normally do. We have a lot of pits and holes in this concrete slab, so we're going to put down a flood coat of 100% solids epoxy. In this case we're going to use our EPE 100 product. And what that's going to do is going to put down a thin layer of epoxy on the smooth areas, but it will fill up all of the deep areas. So that way when we do our flake floor tomorrow, we're going to get a much flatter floor than we would if we were to just broadcast directly on top of this existing surface. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up that epoxy. We're going to put it down with a squeegee and back roll it and let it set overnight. We're going to turn on the heat in here. We'll let it set overnight, and then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll start our full broadcast flake on this floor. right, so we're back here at our garage floor. We did our flood coat in order to get rid of a lot of the pits and imperfections that were in the floor to give us a flatter, much smoother surface. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mix up our body coat of epoxy, the EPE 200. We're going to apply that in a dark gray color. We're going to broadcast our flakes into the epoxy. We're going to let that set overnight, and then we're going to come back tomorrow. We'll do a scraping, and then we'll put on our polyaspartic top coat. All right, so we're going to take our mixed epoxy now, and we're going to apply that to the floor, and this will be what we broadcast our chips into. Now this is a thin coat. It's going to go down at about 150 square feet a gallon or so, something in that range. We'll go ahead and make sure we get our edges real nice. All right, so now that we have all of our epoxy spread out, we're going to go ahead and we're going to give it a nice back roll. All right, cool. So now we have all the epoxy laid out, and it's time to broadcast the flakes. So real simple. We're going to take just handfuls of flakes. We're going to throw it up into the air. We're going to broadcast up, let it rain down. We're not going to throw down this way because we won't get as good a coverage. So we go up in the air and let the flake fall naturally. Now this particular blend of flake is called Nightfall, but what we did for this customer is we added a little bit of red flake into it as well, so you'll see a little bit of a red accent in there. So you can purchase the pre-made blends, or you can actually kind of customize them and make your own as well. So we're doing a full flake broadcast here. So we'll go ahead and we'll get on a nice coat. We'll be able to look back at the floor. We'll see where there's wet spots, which indicates the need for more flake. We'll go back in and we'll broadcast more flake where needed. So you can see the broadcasting of the flake goes really quick. And what we're trying to do is just make sure we have broadcast to rejection, broadcast to where there are not any bare spots at all, no wet epoxy showing. Okay, so this is what it looks like after our first coat of flake, if you will, our first round of broadcasting. So you can see we got pretty good coverage everywhere just with the first coat. And that's because we broadcasted up into the air, we let the flake flow down. But you can see some spots here like this one, if the camera will pick up on it, where we see a little bit of the shiny epoxy showing, so that indicates we need some more flake. If we look back down this way, you can see spots that are shiny, wet, so we're going to need some more flake. So we'll go ahead and we'll get another bucket of flake and we'll start broadcasting some more. So again, it's that upward motion that we're going for. A handful, throw into the air, let it rain down in a wide pattern. And that's how we get nice full coverage quickly. Make sure we get everything right up against the walls real good. Now, what we try to do as well is we use a matching color of epoxy as our flake. So we try to pick out one of the colors of the flake. So in this case, the predominant colors here are grays, a little bit of black in it. And that way, if we were to miss a little tiny spot somewhere, at the end of the day, you won't see it because the color that we're broadcasting into, the color of the epoxy, it's a matching color to one of the colors of the flake. So we go with, typically in colors like this, we'll go with a gray, some kind of a beige color if we're doing brown, something like that. Some people will go with a white base if they have a white color flake in it. So whatever it is, you just want to make sure that you use a matching color of epoxy to the flake. All right, so here we are now back at that same view that we had just a few minutes ago where we had some wet spots in the epoxy. I went ahead, I did that additional broadcast of flake in those areas, and now you can see that the floor looks dry now. There's no wet epoxy showing through anywhere. So that tells me that we now have a full broadcast. We've broadcasted to rejection. There's no wet spots. So we're back here at our single car garage. We're doing a full flake broadcast floor. The epoxy now has dried and we've got a lot of loose flake sitting on top because remember we broadcasted the flake to rejection. So what we're going to do now is we're going to blow all of the flake to the back of the garage. We'll vacuum up all of the loose flake. We're going to scrape the floor, clean everything up, get all the loose flake off, and then once that's finished, then we're going to mix up our polyaspartic and put down the top coat. Okay, so we got our flake all scraped and vacuumed up. There's really nothing loose on the surface anymore. Now it's time for us to go ahead and put our top coat on. And for this particular garage floor, we're going to use our polyaspartic top coat. It's a 2-to-1 mix, 2 parts A to 1 part B. We're going to mix that up in smaller quantities. We're going to squeegee it and back roll it, and that's going to provide just the optimum top coat for any garage surface. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, so we've got our product mixed up, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna just pour it out onto the floor and then squeegee it around. So there we go. I'll go ahead and hit the edges real quick just to get us started. Very, very simple here. Okay, so that gives us a good little start. Let me get my shoes on. And we're going to use a window squeegee. You could use really any kind of squeegee, but the window squeegee seem to put it on just nice and thin for us. So again, it's a squeegee and then a back roll. So we're getting this down at about 130, 140 square feet a gallon, somewhere in that range. Now, on a small job like this, single car garage, we're talking 220 square feet or something like that. You know, totally doable by yourself. But whenever you can get a helper, it is sure always nice to have extra help, because then that other person, they could actually be back rolling the product right now. Certainly do not want to leave this polyaspartic sitting in the bucket for too long. So we'll go ahead and dump the rest of it out onto the floor here. Very nice. right, so now we're gonna give this a quick back roll here, just to kind of even everything out. Extend this guy a little bit more here. Okay, so that puts a wrap on this one here. You can see that was pretty easy. We prepped the surface as we would for any epoxy coating. We did an extra flood coat on this floor because you remember how bad the condition of this floor was. So we did that extra flood coat just to kind of fill everything in, and as you can see, that really helped us in the end. It gave us a much smoother, flatter finish on this floor. We came in with our dark gray broadcast coat of epoxy. We broadcast the chips to rejection. We came back, we blew off all the loose flake, we scraped, we vacuumed everything up, and then we've just finished applying our polyaspartic top coat. So it's a project that you can do yourself. It's a super durable surface for any garage floor. We have many different flake combinations in stock ready to ship. So contact us on the website if you have any questions at www.epoxyplus.com. We're here to help, and this is certainly a project that you can do yourself. Thanks for watching.